Upton Sinclair was an important figure in American history. Upton Sinclair entered the historical record with The Writing of the Jungle in 1906. The Jungle was a book about the issues of those working in the meatpacking industry and gained attention from both politicians and middle class, allowing change to be conducted. That helped the workers. The publishing of the book may have brought attention to the issues of meatpacking industry, but it also turned Upton Sinclair, its writer, into a celebrity on the national level in America, which soon went to his head when he began publishing books that had either been rejected by publishers in the past, or how would you put it? More kind of just rehashes of the jungle with less quality. After that, he would come into the historical record again when he publicly supported Woodrow Wilson's effort to enter America into World War I in 1917, supporting the idea of defeating German militarism and spreading democracy that Wilson was preaching, defecting from his Socialist Party to do so. He would later return to his anti-imperialist, anti-war mentality and declare that he had supported his last capitalist war after it became clear that the socialist reforms that he believed would be engaged and the very few that had been were being repealed now that the war was nearly over, leading to him to become angry and disillusioned with President Wilson and eventually abandon that path. In the aftermath of World War I, he would write more books. Some were good, some were bad, some were somewhere in between, but history would pick up again in the 1930s when he began to grow worried about the rise of fascism in Europe. And he believed the Soviet Union was the only nation that could stop them due to the Soviets being one of the main opposition forces to Nazi Germany in Europe. But he would later grow disillusioned with the Soviet Union after the invasion of Finland. Even though that the US would later ally the Soviet Union, he would never view it as idealistically as he did again after that point. When the war officially broke out in 1939, he began writing the Lanny Budd series, which would critically acclaimed and have 11 books in the series, including Lanny Blood Flies Again, which was released after World War II during the Cold War. Upton Sinclair would become much more a mainstream liberal after World War II, becoming much less radical and becoming a full-time Democrat, even though he had already been a Democrat before when he ran for California. But now he would be considered much more closer to mainstream liberalism at this point. Those still he would still import some improvement to America and progressive policies. His work at this point would be things like The No-Mobile, which would later be transformed into a movie by Walt Disney. Sinclair would eventually die in 1968, ending his extraordinary life. He went from a radical to someone who was seen as more moderate and acceptable to mainstream liberal American society. And by the time of his death, he was considered a national figure, even though he's not nearly as remembered publicly today.